Hello there, Reject Nation. I'm Greg Alba.
And I'm John Humphrey.
We're going to talk about the 2019 remake, directed by Tim Burton, of the classic Disney animated film, Dumbo. Nope, that doesn't work.
Good try, though. Good effort.
It only works for 2 Electric Boogaloo, doesn't it? Which in some ways, this kind of does feel like a sequel.
Yeah,
It's like half remake, half sequel.
It definitely builds out from the source material.
Yeah, expands upon, like, especially if you see the trailer, I think you can sort of piece that together. Yeah. Especially since the original Dumbo, I think, is 25 minutes long.
It's 10 minutes long.
Full disclosure, Disney pays us quite a huge lump sum of money to recommend their films.
Mm-hmm. This apartment's paid for the next year.
And if this video hits 10,000 views, we get an additional $250. Mm-hmm. So Dumbo's the best movie I've seen all year so far.
Yeah, forget Endgame, forget anything else. Just if you see one movie all year,
go watch Dumbo.
Make it repeat viewings of Dumbo.
Yes. On a sincere note, I think Dumbo, if you've seen, Dumbo is an elephant birthed into a circus, has big flappy ears, and everyone's a freak.
And everyone's mean about it.
Find out you could fly, because apparently in the 40s, everyone's a jerk, right? 40s or 30s, doesn't matter.
The olden days.
I think the best part of this movie is the most important element to it, which is Dumbo. Yes. Dumbo is adorable. The best character in the movie, the best depth actually goes to Dumbo, who doesn't even talk.
Dumbo is the most stirring on-screen. Yes. Like, the most emotions I felt were 100% for that elephant.
And if there's any joy or wonder that goes on in this film, I think it comes in the scenes with Dumbo when he's learning to fly, overcoming fear. Those moments hit. It dawned on me about halfway through in case you guys can't pick up on the sarcasm, we don't like this movie. So,
Disney did not pay us.
Halfway through this film, I was like, even if like Dumbo or the animals aren't talking in this movie, I think it would have been cool if you did kind of a quieter movie that, was like a body language movie of these animals, or primarily Dumbo, and I feel like that would have been even more effective. Instead, what we got here, a film that is simultaneously flat and loud as shit the entire time. Like
it doesn't have a really coherent or discernible pace, at least for me. And so, it just feels like you're walking through a series of different rooms that all have a whole bunch of stuff going on in them, and there's nobody really to help you get oriented.
John and I grew up with huge Tim Burton fans. Mm-hmm. Remember, he has like displays at the LACMA Museum. I tuned in for that. Some of my favorite films, I think, come from Tim Burton's filmography. And it seems like after Sweeney Todd, he just kind of just really been dipping a hell of a lot more. And I know there are some people who really love this. And I'll also say this. I think kids will just kids. I feel like there are some adults who have definitely been recommending this movie, but I think kids will really like this film a lot.
Especially in its construction. Yeah, I feel like there's a lot about this movie that is very straightforward, especially in the dialogue and the storytelling, and so I think for kids that actually might be a good thing.
So for the demographic it needs to primarily hit, the main demographics being hit, I feel like, this is all a preference of standards or what you expect from, because I feel like some of the live action remakes have been pretty great of what Disney has had to offer. Yeah. I appreciate the effort. I'll say that too. I appreciate the effort because rather than just doing a shot-for-shot remake, they had to expand on this because Dumbo is such a short animated film. Yeah. So I actually like the idea of really trying to do different things or add a lot in. The thing is, I feel like most of the things they add in is just messy. There's a lot of focus on the humans in this movie. I feel like Tim Burton has sort of evolved into his own version of Michael Bay in a way where it's like very self-indulgent, CGI reliant.
A lot of earmarks of modern Tim Burton.
I've heard quite a few people use this analogy, actually, because, we talked to people after the screenings. Kind of like how Transformers does a lot of human-focused characters in a film where you should have just focused on the Transformers. It's kind of like what you get here. The humans in this movie are like, sure, you got a great cast in here. You got Colin Farrell, Danny DeVito, Michael Keaton, Eva Green. You got a lot of great actors in here, yet the characters in here, I don't connect with any of them.
Yeah.
They feel very two-dimensional. They feel like a combination of half-assed retreads of Tim Burton characters and Disney, like the father character that Colin Farrell plays. I've seen him in like 3 movies now. From Mary Poppins Returns, the dad who's not good with his kids, or Christopher Robin, the dad who's not good with his kids, and then Colin. Like, this is a trope that I'm seeing a lot, and that's also in a lot of Tim Burton movies too. Bad parenting.
Yeah. Well, in this this one was arguably the weakest for me on that front, especially because what I'm starting to realize is that with the more these live-action remakes Disney's been doing, you can spot certain elements that are kind of the same every time, and for me, that definitely came in the harried father aspect, which, like, I worked a lot better for me and Christopher Robin, because in this movie, every time Colin Farrell borders on having an actual conversation with his kids, his character literally just tells them to go away.
Yeah.
And they never really have any kind of character relationship.
And the kids, who, more than the adult actors in this movie, the kids should have been the most developed because they're the ones who connect with Dumbo. The most important interaction with Dumbo in this film. I wasn't exactly sure what was going on with them. The daughter especially, I feel like she's supposed to be, you know, emotionally detached or whatever. She doesn't want to be part of this circus family that she's involved with.
She's got that Tim Burton-y thing about her where she's kind of wide-eyed and
all she's
stoic.
missing is a scene where she's spinning.
Yeah. Yes, that's true.
Yeah, she's got that going for her, but she's just very bland.
Well, because they don't give anybody a character trait beyond, here's your one thing. Like the daughter, the thing that bummed me out about the daughter especially is that her character trait is just shoehorned in. It's, she doesn't like the circus, she wants to be a scientist. Cool, that's a very woke and now message to have, that the movie doesn't ever bother to turn into a real character.
That's most of the characters.
Colin Farrell, he lost his arm.
He lost his arm, comes
That's
back
his
from the
character.
war. And I'm like, that's his character. Doesn't really factor into most of the movie. And even though it's such a big part of the beginning, it's the setup.
And that could have easily been so emotional.
Yeah.
And touching.
The circus family that, you know, the Dumbo and all the people are a part of, I felt like they really missed the mark there, man. I mean, we've seen Tim Burton toy with circus environments a few times now.
Oh, yeah.
And he does a great job there. And then here, what I found very distracting on a CGI level, there's a part you see it in the trailers where they go to a different part that's not Circusville, whatever the hell they call it, that I'm like, okay, that makes sense why that's all CGI.
Yeah.
What didn't make sense to me is why just the immediate circus that you
like
spent half the movie with is
regular traveling circus.
When you're looking at the environment, I'm like, why is all this CGI? I've seen Big Fish. I've seen TV shows that do this. Why is so much of this CG? You couldn't shoot this on location and build a couple of sets?
See, that's a particular bummer to me about Tim Burton's movies now, is that for several years up until this point, they've started to feel very synthetic to me, and they've always been heightened, they've always been stylized, but especially the more he relies on CGI, just the less natural anything starts to feel, and then when you don't have good writing on top of that, it all starts to fall apart and feel, just kind of hollow.
Sleepy Hollow.
Michael Keaton was probably the weirdest part of this movie to me.
Yeah.
When he first showed up, I'm like, are you going for like something subtle? And then suddenly it shifts into, oh, you're going for like this weird chewing up the scenery. Like
intensely.
I've talked with quite a lot of peeps about this. I couldn't understand half the dialogue he was saying. Yeah. And I don't think it was just the audio at the theater, because I've talked to other people who saw different screenings, and I'm like, wait a minute. Half of this movie, I don't even know what Michael Keaton's actually saying in this film. And it's another typical Disney/Tim Burton villain. That's like we've seen that villain a gajillion times.
Oh yeah, especially in this wave of remake. I mean, he is the nasty, mean, evil corporate guy.
Yeah.
And somebody pointed this out at the actual screening, and I do think it's an interesting point, is even though, Disney likes to use that kind of villain, this time around it is especially strange because they essentially co-opt the circus and make it Disneyland. And so it's that much weirder to watch Disney do that.
Because Michael Keaton's kind of playing a Walt Disney kind of character.
Yeah, and so you're like, what are you going for here, guys? Are you not expecting us to sit here and be like, this is strangely telling?
Yeah, I felt the best performers were Eva Green and Danny DeVito. They were the only ones who really provided like genuine moments of life or nuance, and certain it doesn't not enough to like be like, they had enough moments that I felt connected. But yeah,
I started to get pulled in during some of their moments.
Dumbo's maybe at best half of this movie, because the other half is really dedicated to all the humans who feel very halfway met on the writing and directing of them.
It doesn't really feel like anybody directed the actors. It feels like everybody kind of made up their character and just did the lines.
Yeah.
You know, and Colin Farrell reminded me of George W. Bush most of the time.
I mean, his accent was kind of slipping.
And I did want to go back to something you said at the beginning, because I do think that some of the best moments in this movie are when it is just doing visual storytelling. There are a couple moments that are just set to music, or that are just between Dumbo and his mom, for example, that are all about body language and are all about mood, when the movie gets out of its own way and actually kind of works, but there's so few and far between.
I didn't walk in going, I don't want to see humans, just see Dumbo. If anything, I left disappointed, because I was like, well, it seemed like your potential for great human characters was all here.
Yeah.
It's just nothing was met with a right balance or tone. And honestly, it's just a really loud, annoying film. It's very annoying.
It's a circus movie, and there have been several of those throughout history, and I feel like circus movies especially are a great potential to bring in some interesting human stories as well. Like, if we're going to expand this, I feel like you have a built-in ensemble and built-in messages to go with.
Yeah, you have this very specific group of people who are in the circus, the freaks. I couldn't tell you what most of what their specialties are. And I'm like, that's such a specific ingredient to an ensemble of circus freaks.
Yeah,
is knowing, oh, this is what this person does. I could tell you what like two of them do.
Yeah, it's like I can identify a couple of the acts overall, but they never formulate into an ensemble of characters.
Overall, I mean, the title character is the best part of this movie. It's the most important part. I think kids will like it. For us personally, it was just it was very it just bummed me out.
Yeah, because it didn't have any finesse for me. It just seemed to have this weird kind of homogenized pace where it just lurches forward from one thing to the next, and after a while, if you're not invested, I think you're just going to be entirely pulled out.
But Greg and John like everything.
Yes, we do. We like everything.
The only reason we gave this review is because we're trying to, satisfy those hate comments.
Yeah, this is entirely just an effort to rebrand.
We really loved this movie.
We're gonna hate all the movies we review from now on, especially Endgame
and anything Disney. No, Disney's great. Anyway, did you guys see Dumbo? Are you going to see Dumbo? What? You know what? Just come up with your own question. Leave a
question, and then somebody else comment on it.
Before this video is done, I would like to give a Patron of the Day shout out to a man named Daniel Gallagher, our handsome friend from Scotland, who's been part of our Patreon page for I think at least 6 to 8 months now, quite a long time. So thank you, buddy. And we talk a lot about movies. I'm now recalling that the first time we ever spoke, you were telling me that you were finalizing stuff to become a pharmacist and you had one exam left. This was way back, I think, in August of last year. And the amount of times we've talked, you've never updated me on what's going on with your career there. Did you pass the exam? What's happening with your life?
Can you prescribe us Scottish drugs?
Because Scottish drugs, I hear, are the best, and they probably will make Dumbo a better viewing experience.
I don't.
Look at that foot and elephant.
Look at it flopping those big old ears.
Bunch of circus freaks around here.
Colin Farrell.
Irish bastard!
Looking for some Irish bastard.
Anyway, guys, subscribe to the Reject Nation, click that notification bell, and we'll catch you guys later.